joining us is the Honourable Mr. Roland Bhola, Opposition MP. Good morning, Mr. Bhola. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm quite fine. Really good this morning.
Welcome to Daybreak.
Thank you very much for having me here this morning.
Yes, we appreciate you coming in. Okay, now we understand that an MP recently boycotted a parliamentary meeting. Can you tell us what that meeting was and why it was boycotted?
It was actually what is referred to as a Finance Committee meeting. The Finance Committee is a committee put together by the Parliament. It is a parliamentary function that you need to do. In fact, the Finance Committee comprises of all parliamentarians, both opposition and government. And what you actually do, it's pretty similar to the parliamentary meeting, only that you deal with financial matters and it is not open to the press or to the public. It's behind closed doors. What you do there is, for example, as we were leading up to budget presentation, you would look at the budget in its entirety, vote by vote, ministry by ministry. You would discuss what would have transpired over last year, areas where you would have gone into extra spending or areas where you did not spend all of what was budgeted, and we get reasons why. Finance Committee also deals with monies that come into the system during the year. So for example, in any particular ministry or for any project, you may have a budgetary allocation. And when you present your budget, you may say that you expect funding from an external source, but at the time of presenting the budget, you did not yet have that money in hand. So it was actually what you say, money is on paper. And at some time during the year, during the financial year, that money may come. So to bring it into the budgetary process, you would have to use what is referred to as a special warrant to account for it. Or sometimes you may have an issue where you need to transfer money from one vote to another, from one ministry, from one department. So let's take, for example, under agriculture, just as an example, you may have budgeted monies for the purchase of plowing equipment. And you soon realize that one of your ambulance went bad, and it has become necessary that you get a new ambulance. But there's no money budgeted under the Ministry of Health for that purpose. You may want to now transfer monies from the Ministry of Agriculture to the Ministry of Health. To do so, it needs a special warrant, and then it needs the approval of the Finance Committee. Generally, what happens is sometimes you carry out the function, and then you take the matter to the Finance Committee. There's no set time in law when the Finance Committee should meet, but the norm is that you try to meet 4 or 5 times a year, every quarter or so you can bring into account monies that was transferred, monies that was used in areas where they were not authorized to use. So you bring everything back into legality. What has been happening over the years, and we have consistently been complaining as an opposition, is that we receive the documents for those meetings very, very late. The law prescribes that at least notice should be given 7 working days before any of those such meetings, whether it's Finance Committee or Parliament, and that the documentations that would be discussed, the issues, should be presented to the members at least 5 working days prior to the meeting. It is not the first time, but on the last occasion, we received the documents the night before the meeting should have been held. In fact, the meeting should have been last Thursday, and I can speak about myself personally. The document was not delivered to my home until about probably 5:45 on Wednesday afternoon. I wasn't even home at the time, so it meant that to go through the entire document, you had to stay up all night to do that if you had to make any meaningful and sensible contribution. So we opted not to go to the meeting as a sign of protest, and maybe to have the government look into these issues and treat the matter of parliamentary proceedings more seriously on another occasion.
When you say we boycotted, does that mean all the opposition parliamentarians?
All 4 opposition parliamentarians decided. In fact, what should be the norm is that you should receive the documents in time, that as an individual you can go through it, and then the opposition as a team would normally meet and look at the areas that you wanted to highlight. It is not a case. Sometimes people think that when you talk government and opposition, as an opposition member, you're there simply to oppose everything the government brings forward. And that is not necessarily the truth. There are times when you have to oppose certain things if you think it is not the right thing for the country, if it's not going to bring progress and development to the people. But there are many times you may offer ideas, new ideas, or you may strengthen an idea that the government has. And that is what parliamentary democracy is all about. We may have opposing views as to how to get to a certain place. The fact is you may take one track, one road, I may take a different road. At the end of the day, what we want to do is to arrive at that same place in a timely and successful way. And there is no lack of ideas, or there is no lack of tracks that you can use. And one thing is that the country will be better served if you have all of the ideas put on the table and decide which is best that you must use. But when you treat the opposition with such kind of courtesy, you're actually going against the grain of what the Prime Minister often talks about, democratic institutions and respect for those institutions, transparency and accountability. If the government is to be really accountable and transparent, and if they're going to show respect for the democratic institutions of the state, because the Parliament is an institution of the state, it is not something that the opposition wants or the government wants, it is something that we have to follow. And respect must be shown in the manner as being prescribed by law. And if you're not going to do that, it is against the very grain, the very words that you use. You're not practicing it. And we want the nation to know that we did not refuse to go simply because we think we are better off than the government, or we have more ideas than the government, or we are not in any way serious about what the government is doing. In fact, it is because of our seriousness about it and understanding our role as opposition, that is why we boycott it as a means of protest.
So who's exactly responsible for sending these documents in a timely manner?
Well, it comes through the parliamentary office. Most of the documents, once it's related to any parliamentary function. However, there are a number of other arms that operate outside of the parliamentary office. In the case of the Finance Committee, it would definitely be the Ministry of Finance, and the Minister of Finance is the chairperson of that committee. He's the one that summons the meeting, he's the one that chairs the meeting, he's the one that would have most of the information. In fact, it is one of the parliamentary meetings where members of staff of the Ministry of Finance, for example, the permanent secretary in the Ministry of Finance will be present, and most times the accounting and budgeting officers of the Ministry of Finance, because that's where you deal with financial matters of the country. And that's a very serious area. We all know and we hear it every day that finances are scarce, there's not enough money to do all what the people want done, and government is low on finance here and there. So Finance Committee meeting is where you sit and discuss, and you try to allocate funds in the areas where you think they would be best used, or where using them in that area would bring the greatest reward. And that's why we view it so serious.
Okay. Was the NDC informed that you were going to be boycotting the meeting, and was it postponed to another date? What's the current situation of the meeting?
The issue is that the decision was taken very late. I know the morning efforts were made. I personally did not do it, but the leader of the opposition's office would have made contact with members of the Ministry of Finance and the parliamentary office to indicate that we were not coming. Because as I said, the documents came in late Wednesday afternoon, and the meeting was scheduled for 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. So on Thursday morning, some attempt was made. I have not verified whether or not that they actually got information to the parliamentary office. Our understanding also is that there were quite a few members of the government, the ruling party, that was absent. There might have been probably 6 or 7, and I have not been able to count and verify persons present at that meeting. A meeting of that nature, you would want all parliamentarians to be present. There are cases sometimes when 1 or 2 persons may be out of state. I can recall during my first stint in government, being a government member, we would not schedule a Finance Committee meeting if, for example, one of our members would be out of state. We try to schedule the meetings where everyone will be present, because persons represent various ministries, and there may be issues that you're not privy to, not because you're in government, but issues that pertain to a particular ministry that you may not have all the ideas about. And it is always good to have all members present so they can present the case. I recall that leading up to the last budget, the previous budget presentation, that was the 2010-2011 budget. It was at the Finance Committee meeting. Based on an intervention by the opposition, we were able to see more monies being budgeted for marketing in tourism. And it is not because we were in government, but we recognize that that's an area where the budgetary allocation was far too low, and it was not going to create an impact. And after reasoning and giving rationale and being supported by the Minister of Tourism then, we were able at the Finance Committee meeting to make changes to that budgetary allocation. And that happens before the budget document is being presented in the Parliament. So it's a kind of closed door session where you get a chance to tear the budget apart, so to speak, go into it in details, line by line, ministry by ministry, vote by vote, and make recommendations. Sometimes changes are made. Sometimes the minister may tell you, well, we just can't change it because there is not sufficient funds available to give any addition, or you may have to cut short on another area because you're always dealing with limited funds. And what you want to do, as I said before, is to try to ensure that those limited funds are best spent in areas where they will give greatest impact.
So you're saying that the meeting went on still on Thursday, right?
Yes, it did.
Are there any penalties that come about from the absence? Your absence?
No, not that I am aware of. Let me not say that they cannot be, but as far as I know, based on the rules, based on the regulations, based on all of the legislation that governs Parliament, really no, they should not be. As you know, Parliament is the body that actually makes laws. A law can be made, probably to say if you are absent from one or two or whatever. In fact, if you are absent from 3 consecutive parliamentary sessions, you can be asked to vacate, because it's a sign that you probably is not serious.
Right.
Except you would have provided the necessary excuses or reasons prior to the parliamentary sitting to the Speaker of the House that you would be absent for very good and valid reasons. But being absent from the Finance Committee meeting, no, I don't know of any particular penalties.
So, seeing as the meeting went ahead, even though, obviously you'd have been very underprepared, having very little time to read the document, would it not have been better to still at least be at the meeting and have some input, as opposed to not being there and decisions were made without you, or at least why not go to the meeting and try and address the issue of the late document?
Well, that's an issue. To take the last part of your question, the issue of trying to address the late document, that is something that we have done consistently. In fact, the very first year that the administration got into office and presented a budget would have been late 2008, the 2008-2009 budget. At that time, I recall that the leader of Her Majesty's opposition, along with the other 2 parliamentarians, the Honorable Elvin Nimrod and the Honorable Paris Modest-Cohen, was scheduled to travel to the United States to attend a function. They would have indicated in writing to both the parliamentary office through the Speaker and of course the Ministry of Finance, because we knew it was coming up to budget time, that look, all 3 members would be out of state for what period of time. Hence, if they were going to plan the Finance Committee meeting, which you normally would do prior to budget, be guided that we would be out of state during those days. I know for a fact that the letters was delivered, and lo and behold, a meeting was scheduled for the day that those members was expected to return to Grenada. They were expected to return the afternoon, and a meeting was scheduled for 9 o'clock that morning. I was the lone member of the opposition present in Grenada at the time. But, a very similar thing happened. I never received the document until the night before the meeting. That was in 2008, 2009. I did not go to that Finance Committee meeting on the same principle that, one, I was not prepared, having received the document late. And secondly, we would have requested most kindly of the Minister of Finance and the Speaker of the House to have the meeting postponed or pushed back, because when they were leaving, there was not a date planned yet, but they indicated, look, we would be out of state for that period. So giving us an opportunity to participate in the process, please try to schedule the meeting after the date we return. That did not happen. We wrote, we spoke about it in Parliament, but even the very parliamentary sittings, for example, the last bill that was done in the House, the FIU bill, that bill never came to us until about a day or so before the Parliament was being held. And it was done on the other paper to go through all the stages, first, second, and third reading. So it means that you go to Parliament and you pass it. Normally, you would get a bill and you go to Parliament and you have what is called the first reading. The first reading is more like an announcement, and then the second and third reading would be put off for when next you have Parliament. So it gives you sufficient time to have consultation. The fact is, once you read a bill, once you present it for the first time in Parliament, it then becomes a public document. So you can now discuss it, you can go out there and have consultation with other persons, get their views. Our belief is that being in Parliament or having the opportunity to represent people, you must not see yourself as being in the position to just make laws and pass it on people. We believe that the process must be one where people are consulted, where people know and understand beforehand, these are what we're going to do. What is your feeling about it? How do you see that working, affecting you negatively or positively? And you can influence change. The people must be able to influence change in what you do as government, in the process of governance. And we pleaded when we went to the Parliament and said, listen, we never had sufficient time, one, to go through the bill properly as an opposition. Secondly, we did not get a chance to consult with stakeholders. So can we now just do the bill for the first reading and have the second and third some other time? And the Speaker said, no, he couldn't allow that. The government wanted it to go through all the stages. The point I'm trying to make here is that consistently we have seen this pattern. Where documents get to us late, we have spoken about it, we have asked that they desist doing that. All we ask for is to treat us based on what the law, asks for. 7 working days before, give us at least 7 working days before. Give us time to consult, give us time to meet as a group. We live in separate places, we live in different villages. Sometimes, yes, we talk by phone, but it is always better, and you can make better contributions if we sit together as a team and discuss it. There's another part to the question that you asked, which
even though you most likely would have been ill-prepared.
Right, ill-prepared. The fact is, having gone there, if we would have gone there, not being prepared at all, we'd just be there sitting, listening to what the government is presenting to us, and either voting yea or nay for what is being presented. But you were not in a position to say, if I vote yea, it is because I understand what I'm voting for. It is just the government. And we have a lot of reasons not to accept the government as it were at its word every time. I mean, there are times they say things that are factual, that is as they say, but we have reasons to doubt sometimes the authenticity of what they present to us. So we like to know and research and find background information before you go in and agree or disagree. The issue is there's a second opportunity when the budget comes up for debate, But you would have been better prepared, and probably a number of things that you were going to bring out and highlight during the debate. If you had an opportunity to discuss it at the Finance Committee meeting, maybe some of those issues would not have come out during the debate. Sometimes some of those things are pretty embarrassing, but behind closed doors, and that's one of the other reasons why you have the Finance Committee meeting before. So you can trash out some of the areas where there are wide differences and variations, and so when you come to the public, it is more orderly done, and you deal with issues. So maybe, yes, some people may have the view that you could have gone, you could have listened, you could have agreed or disagreed at the meeting. But we also wanted the public to understand, listen, hey, we are not being treated as we should be. We are not asking for any preferences. We are not saying to the government, listen, we are an elite group, so you have to treat us differently. All we're saying is that give us the treatment as prescribed in the law. 7 working days, presented 7 days before. That's all we're asking for.
Nice. So that is the way forward, just pleading for, regulations to be followed and that
to
sort
be
of
followed.
thing. Okay.
I mean, if you see it and feel desirous of giving any extra concessions, we wouldn't mind. If you think, well, all right, we can give you 12 days, 15 days before, that would even be better. That would give us more time to consult and to prepare. But at least we're asking, just let's operate. And in keeping with what the Prime Minister always says, I mean, his words are that we must respect our democratic institution. This is a democratic institution. The arm of the opposition in Parliament is not something that any decided to have. It is part of the democratic process. And if you want to respect those institutions, Parliament as an institution, please, start by following the guidelines and the rules that govern Parliament.
Okay, nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us and, sharing the information from Parliament meeting. We hope that things do get resolved and, procedures are followed next time, right?
That's all we hope for. That's all we ask for, because we want to be able to serve the people as they have asked us to do at the polls.
Okay. Thank you so much, Honorable Bhola, for joining us this morning.